Real Estate Network members. Welcome to today's webinar on the Memphis, Tennessee market. My name is Si-Wing Yi, and I'm the founder of Yi Real Estate Network. Thank you all for joining me for the next 1 hour and learn about this unique market as potentially part of your real estate market acquisition portfolio. I have here is a special guest speaker, Mr. Ryan Tucker from Enterprise Realtors, speaking from his location in Memphis, Tennessee. In a short moment, I will have him speak to you all. And one of the main areas that have always been on my radar is Memphis, Tennessee. And Memphis offers a lower cost of doing business than most other states and abundance of resources to help make your investments more profitable. We've been working with his team, the Enterprise Realtors, for over 4 years, and several of my network investors have purchased from them, and they have very good experience. Right now, we are seeing some better opportunities to make more money than ever before, and I'm glad all of you are here to listen to him. And without further ado, here is Mr. Ryan Tucker.
Well, Si-Wing, thank you so much for having me out again today, and excited to be here to tell you a little bit about the programs that we have in Memphis. As you mentioned a little bit earlier, we've got a little history together, and you're always after me to find new and better deals for the people that you take through your coaching program. So very, very excited to be speaking with you again and bringing these opportunities out to the California investors. Before we get started, Si-Wing, I wanted to see if I could introduce some people to some very good reading on investment real estate. On the next slide, a great book called Crash Boom by Greg Rand. If you are excited about investing in real estate, if you're on the fence about investing in real estate, or if you're already a seasoned investor like some of you guys are, I highly, highly encourage you to grab this book by Greg Rand. It will make you so excited that you will either get your first purchase under your belt or you'll be ready to go out and buy again. He really explores this market that we're in. And Si-Wing, you and I have talked about it for a long time, what a unique time in history to be purchasing investment properties, buying properties at the point in our history where we've had a huge correction in prices, the absolute perfect time to be in the buyer's market for these things so we can ride that wave back up. And he tracks it back to the Great Depression era, calls our time period the Great Recession, and compares that to the Great Depression and shows what history did with real estate during the next 7 decades after the 1930 crash. And so it is just an extremely well-written book. And again, it will get you so excited about the endeavors that you guys are undertaking with investing in real estate. As we get started, Si-Wing, I want to tell the investors a little bit about Enterprise Realtors. And you know how it is. You're in California. I'm here in Memphis. And one of the things that people want to know is who am I working with in these other areas? Now, obviously, you come to areas like Memphis, Tennessee to invest because it's very difficult to find good cash flow properties in your particular area. So I want to spend a little bit of time just telling the investors exactly who we are. We've been working with out-of-state and out-of-country investors for over 10 years now. And as a matter of fact, our company started for servicing out-of-state investors. And I want to make that point so that they know when they call in and talk to us that they're in good hands, that we've been in business for a long time, and the entire model that we bring is a turnkey investment opportunity set up for people that live out of state. All the investors that you refer over to us, Si-Wing, are great. They're very well educated about properties and return on investment, but they still want to know who are these guys we're working with and what type of background do they have. One of the other things I think that people enjoy about working with us at Enterprise Realtors is we're investors, just like you are, just like they are. And so there are times that they call in and they say, hey, Ryan, I'm really interested in, a real quick example is the last one that we did together on Buffer Drive. I'm really interested in property on Buffer Drive. Can you tell me a little bit about that area? Do you like it? And 99 times out of 100, I not only tell them I like it, that I own one in the same zip code or just down the street, and I can tell them about my experiences with that property, with the type of tenant that's in the property, and it really puts people at ease knowing that we're agents and investors on the other end. And so we know all the questions that they would come up with about that particular property or that particular investment. And the other thing that we like to tell people is that we do offer in-house property management. And this has been a very, very important point for most of the investors that we work with. Wing, you know how through the years you've probably run into people that are salespeople, and then after the sales process is done, they turn it over to a secondary property manager. Well, that property manager doesn't always have the same outlook of the investment property or the investor because they don't have a relationship with them yet. And so about 8 years ago, we decided that handing it off to a secondary property manager just doesn't work, that we want to be involved in the sale and the management so that there's no real handoff. If you call me back as a sales agent and say, hey, Ryan, I'm having some issues with my management end, I need these questions answered, well, I sit in on all of the property management meetings. I'm part of the hiring team for the property management company, and I interact on a weekly and monthly basis on all of the decisions that are made with our property management company. So hopefully that tells you a little bit more about Enterprise Realtors and gives you an idea of the role that we play with investors, especially out-of-state investors, and how we help structure the purchases and then how we help take care of it in the property management after the sale is finished.
Yeah, Ryan, I totally agree. I mean, I tell you, even though my organization been working with your group only 4 years, but like you said, Ryan and Enterprise Realtors have been working with many real estate investment clubs all over the country, in particular in California. As a matter of fact, I knew about Ryan and his organization like 10 years ago when he was doing a whole bunch of deals with California investors. And I keep hearing all the good words about you guys. And you guys have, property management is so important. The biggest fear of buying out of state is, is a property management good, or they can do everything on the behalf of the owner, investor. And clearly, I can only say the feedback coming from my investors that purchased from you in the past few years has nothing been outstanding, and I'm not saying this for just to butter you up, but I always get feedback from my investors because I care about them, and because you've been around for 10 years and you serviced thousands of investors over the past 10 years, and you're still around, and so that tells me that you're in it for the long haul. Once the sale is done, you're going to continue to provide outstanding service. Your in-house property management team, that's the key. So I really appreciate that. So go ahead. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Thank you, and thank you for the kind words. We really focus in on the property management company. The old saying in investment real estate is you date your salesperson, you marry your property manager, because that is where that long relationship is. And we believe that saying is really true. We find that we develop the majority of the relationship after the sale is done and continuing to stay in touch with and be part of that program. Well, as we get started here, there's a couple more things that we want to do. Along with introducing ourselves, we want to educate people a little bit about the Memphis market and tell them about the different programs that we offer. So we've got a couple more objectives we need to cover as we go. But on the next slide, I wanted to put a few of the recent sales that we have done. For no other reason, C-Wing, is through the years, you'll find a lot of groups that have only one type of property that they offer, that they have what you would call a bread and butter program. So you may find an area and you call up an organization and they say, yeah, we do sell investment properties, and they all look the same, or the price point is all about the same. And that's not what we do. And so I put a few of the pictures up. I didn't put any of the pricing in here, but you'll be able to see that we cover a wide variety of different type properties. In the pictures that you see here, all of these homes are at least 3-bedroom, but they have ranged anywhere from $39,000 purchase price all the way up into the $110,000, $120,000 purchase price. And we even have some investors through the years that have gone up into that higher level, the $120,000 to $150,000 price point. And they all have different financial structures, whether it be a cash purchase or lending that's tied to it. So we'll get to that a little bit later in the program. But I wanted people to see at least that we have all kinds of different styles, all kinds of different properties and investment opportunities for them to invest in. And this is just a quick sample of that. But before we get into the different programs, I always tell people, C-Wing, that if you're obviously looking outside of your market, if you're in California, you're looking at your investment dollars saying, okay, where can I make my money work best? And it doesn't work as well because of your rents versus the purchase price. So you have investors and you're educating them about different cities and different areas of the United States where their money works well. And so we take a few slides and just talk to them about the Memphis market. A lot of the investors, they've never been to the Southeast. They've never been to Memphis. And so we're known a lot of times, I'll say, well, tell me what you know about the Memphis market. And the number one answer seems to be, well, I know that Elvis has a home there. And that's true, but I hope that most people aren't making the decision on buying investment properties because Elvis used to live in the city. So I put together a few slides to go through some of the attributes, some of the things that drive that Memphis economy. If you didn't know it, Memphis is the 19th largest city in the U.S., the third largest in the Southeast by population. And what that brings with it, with being a very large city for this region, obviously it brings a great tenant base for you. We have, some of the questions that come about the Memphis economy is what type of industry you have there. Well, we have the same type of industries that you would expect to find in any large metropolitan area. Greater Memphis area is over 1 million people, and so we have Fortune 500 companies like Federal Express is the largest employer in our area. That's where the world headquarters is. International Paper is located here. AutoZone's world headquarters is here. And we do have a tremendous amount of tourism that comes through our city every year. Elvis's house, as I used it as a joke, is actually the second most visited house in the United States behind the White House. So very, very significant for our economy. And not to mention that, most people don't know it, but right behind Las Vegas and Atlantic City, we have an area just outside the city limits of Memphis called Tunica, and it's the third largest casino cluster in the nation. And so we just have a tremendous amount of tourism. We've got some great corporation, Fortune 500 companies that are located here, and it has a lot to do with our low cost of living, and we're a work-friendly state where we don't have any unions, and so we have a lot of companies that are looking to locate here. In the next slide, it talks a little bit about the growth of Memphis. I moved here about 30 years ago, and this talks about our downtown area. And about 30 years ago when I moved here, you really didn't want to go into our downtown area. But But the city of Memphis started studying different performance from other large cities that were thriving, like Atlanta, like Portland and Seattle. And they know that you have to drive money back into what used to be a thriving downtown area for businesses. And so we've invested well over $1 billion in our downtown redevelopment and just have a tremendous city center right on the Mississippi River now. FedEx helped build the stadium for the Memphis Grizzlies pro basketball team, so the FedEx Forum is there where we play the professional basketball games. We have a downtown stadium for a minor league baseball team that feeds into the St. Louis Cardinals, and many businesses have their office locations there. And we also have in the downtown area a large amount of medical population from St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Le Bonheur Children's Hospital, and all of the different schools, University of Tennessee medical schools that surround it. And so just a huge medical community in that downtown area. If you go over to the next slide, it talks about what we call an MSA ranking. So I tell people a little bit about the Memphis being very large in population, great for your tenant base. I tell people about Memphis and Shelby County trying to attract new businesses in by offering tax incentives, being a right-to-work state, not a union state, low cost of living. And so I talk about several of those factors, but that's me, and I live here, and I love the city of Memphis. So I try to put some independent research there for you as well. And so you have on statistical analysis this MSA report. And if you're not familiar with that, and I know C-Wing is very familiar with this, this is where independent analysis of the city says, okay, let's take cities, large cities about the size of Memphis, and where does this rank as far as their economy goes? And they go in and they look at the entire makeup of our economic system. And we ranked 41st, or in the top 15% of these large metropolitan areas out of 276 population areas. And I think that's very significant to be ranked in the top 15% of the nation. What they're trying to rule out, C-Wing, and you know this, is the boom towns. So we have a town that all of a sudden they find oil in the old days is a good example of it, and they come in and everything develops around this one industry, and once if that production of oil goes away, well then the whole town dies. And so they're looking for a balanced economy, a strong economy, and that's how they rank these MSA areas. And Memphis ranked in the top 15%, and we have been ranking in the top 15% over the last 5-7 years as we've been putting together these statistical analysis. So an independent research talking about the strength of our economy. And all of that being said, that's not even what Memphis is best known for. If you do a Google search and start reading about Memphis, on the next slide, it gives you the claim to fame of when I moved to Memphis is it's the logistics capital of the country. And so we have a tremendous amount of shipping and warehousing that comes out of Memphis. And this is really easy to see, and it's very easy to explain. So if you get a chance after the webinar, I want everybody to take out a map and look at Memphis. And what you're going to see is you're going to see 3 major intersections intersecting Memphis, Tennessee. You're going to see I-55 running north and south, I-40 running east and west, and you're going to see I-69, that future I-69 corridor running from the Great Lakes down to the Gulf of Mexico. Not only are you going to see interstates, you're going to see several different railway systems that feed right into the Memphis area. And then you're going to see that we're located right on the Mississippi River. And that's the reason that Memphis really started developing when it was a young town. And we're the second busiest port on the Mississippi River. And then lastly, we've already talked about Federal Express being here, and Federal Express, and along with UPS and a couple of other carriers, makes the Memphis International Airport is the second busiest cargo airport in the entire world. And we typically have had, over the last 10 years, the number one ranking as the number one cargo airport in the entire world. And right now we're in second place. But because of this, we have a lot of logistics services that have located in the city of Memphis, and we have a lot of warehousing. And so all of that tied together gives us just a tremendous amount of all levels of jobs, C-Wing, and you know how important this is. Within the logistics system, we have everything from high-paid, white-collar, managerial type jobs, all the way down to our minimum wage laborers and all the spectrums in between. And we just have a large population of that, and it makes a great tenant base for any type of property that you would buy.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Ryan, coincidentally, I'm looking at this large atlas road, large scale map. Coincidentally, you mentioned about a map because I've been looking at a map for the past 10 minutes. By the way, when I was younger, when I was in the U.S. Army, I was stationed in U.S. Army Fort Campbell, Kentucky-Tennessee border. And so I know exactly where Memphis is. And really, if you look at the map, you're right. Memphis is surrounded by like almost 10 neighboring states. So I even call yourself the Memphis and the surrounding area is the gateway to the south and southeast. You know, I mean, yeah, you're right. You are the sort of the center of the economic hub to the south and southeast. And I've been educating my investors for years now that the path of growth is in a warm weather area, the south and the southeast region of the U.S. and as well as the southwest. You know, southwest is a Sun Belt state. You know, where I'm located in the west area, California. But south and southeast is the path of growth, emerging growth for years and years to come. So, you guys in a great strategic and economic location for the future. So now you know. Okay, continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's exciting for me as well. As I present this material, as we talk about investing in real estate, my future is in investment real estate. I have a portfolio of 20 single-family homes, very similar to what you're going to see on the webinar today. I started buying C-Wing, as you know, when we started our relationship, prices were higher then. And but just knowing what is coming, seeing how Memphis is approaching what they want to do in the future, and just knowing trends of housing as I get closer and closer to retirement age, just an exciting part of investing to be in. On that next slide, I have some information from Clear Capital, and this is the last part that I'll tell you about Memphis and some of the statistics about it. We'll get into our programs right after that. But Clear Capital, if you're not familiar with them, they're hired to do BPOs, which is just a broker price opinion. If you're not familiar with that real estate term, a BPO is a broker price opinion, and we get a lot of those requests for short sales, for foreclosure sales, and even sometimes you'll get a BPO just on a traditional sale if the bank has a question about the appraisal, then they'll order a broker price opinion, an independent opinion. And so one of the great things that, and we've already seen this starting to happen, is that Clear Capital has gone through and looked at major markets around the United States and says, who looks like they're really emerging as coming out of this recovery at a faster rate. And they pinpointed Memphis, Tennessee as one of the best markets for seeing improvement from 2012, 13, and 14, showing a large increase in price. And we talked about this at length, C-Wing, over the last couple of months, that I'm having more difficulty coming up with the same property, same prices, because we have investors that are looking here, hedge funds, where they're getting zero return in their traditional investment avenues are looking to real estate, and they're coming in, and we're competing specifically against hedge funds, and they're coming in and paying higher prices. And then with the economy, with the interest rates being so low, we have more and more buyers that are coming around and saying, yes, this is absolutely the time to buy, and the product is just drying up. The investments at the rates that we saw over the last 3 or 4 years, the numbers are tighter and tighter. And so I really want to encourage people, when you see information like this with the increase in price coming, when you see that the interest rates are continuing to stay low, to really be looking and be active in your quest for purchasing your investment property, whether it's your first or your 15th one. There's no time like the present to get going in the program.
Right. I agree.
Okay, well, as we get going here, Celine, we're going to transition into the different programs that we have. On the next slide, this is just kind of an introduction into the programs where people say, okay, I get it. You guys have been in the business for quite a while. You have a property management company in place for once we make the purchase. Memphis seems to be a vibrant town that's doing well and has a bright future. And then we had some magazines. So we had an investor magazine come in and take a look at our economy, and they said that the low acquisition or housing cost was low, and then we had low interest rates coupled with that, just phenomenal interest rates for investors and owner occupants, created these high cash flows and high returns for investors, and they turned this the perfect storm for investors to take part in investing in Memphis. And so I use that as an introduction, and I do believe that that's true. Very rare time in our history of the United States with housing that you have low acquisition costs along with extremely low interest rates. So we're going to get started with looking at these different programs. On the first slide, I know that, Sealing, through the years you've educated your investors about self-directed IRAs, or you have some investors that just say, I've got a little bit of money in this particular investment. It's not doing well. I'm thinking about pulling it out and putting it into real estate. Do you have inexpensive properties, things that are under $50,000 or under $40,000, where I can put my money to work? And so we go out and try to find deals like that. So we have properties, excuse me, that range in that $39,000 to $42,000, $45,000 that a lot of investors over the last 2 to 3 years have structured either with cash or they purchased them using their self-directed IRAs. And this home here is a great example of it. It's one that we have available. It's just finished going through the renovation cost, and I put some bullet points on there to see what it is. This is a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath with a 1-car garage, but it's gone through a very complete renovation. The roof is brand new. It's got brick and vinyl siding, so not a lot had to be done on the outside. New pergo wood flooring in the living room and hallways, new carpet in the bedrooms, new paint on the inside. The electrical panel was the old screw and fuses. We upgraded that electrical panel to the breakers, new cabinets, new countertops. So you take an older home that was built in the mid-50s, and we've updated it and tried to make it as new as possible, look as good as possible, and only $42,000 in price. I know that's hard to believe in the area that you're in. I've seen your real estate prices. And so can you really buy a 3-bedroom home in a good area for $40,000? And you can. And so we try to take a lot of the risk away by putting newer components in these homes. This home will rent somewhere in the $650 to $700 rent range. We've got several homes that we manage in the area that perform very similar to this. And so this would be a perfect one for investors to couple with a self-directed IRA or doing cash and get over 11% ROI. And see, one thing I wanted to point out, and I know that you talk to your investors about this, but when I put together these performers, you asked me to go in and make sure I had factors, even though it's only showing $400 cash flow. I wanted to point out that includes $41 a month in maintenance and vacancy, $41 for a vacancy factor as well. Now, that's just projections, so on a month-to-month basis, this is actually going to be cash flowing almost $500 a month, but I wanted to put those other factors in there so we would have some projection, because you're always with investment properties going to have some minor repairs here or there, even though we went in and did the major renovation on that. So I know that you use very similar numbers for that as well, but I wanted to point that out to everyone that cash flow number is actually closer to 500. We just put those extra factors in there for you.
I tell you, Ryan, this is a very significant. That's the reason why for you folks out there, my members, that's why I like the Memphis product. I like Ryan Tucker's product for all these years, because let's look at this. The benchmark for positive cash flow is based on the multiple of 1% multiplied by the purchase price. So if a property is $40,000, you multiply by 1% equals $400 gross rent monthly. That should provide for a positive cash flow. But look at this example of this particular property. Not just this particular property. The next few slides, you are going to see similar cash flow, because if the low rent is $650 and high rent is $700, I mean, we're talking a purchase price to rent factors higher than 1%, 1.3, 1.5%. This is very significant. Furthermore, because Ryan is so conservative with his numbers, with his pro forma, oftentimes when you have other real estate consultants showing a pro forma, they do not even factor in the 6% maintenance and the 5% vacancy factor. I mean, if you take out these two numbers, like Ryan said, this $80. If you do not include the maintenance and vacancy factor, you're right. We're talking about $500 net monthly cash flow on a purchase price is only $42,000. This is very significant if you look at the history of real estate investing. And Ryan and I have been around for a long time, and some of you beginning investors may not understand the significance of these numbers. And it's amazing for you to put in 42 grand and having a potentially anywhere from $400 to $500 per month net cash flow minus property taxes, property insurance, property management fee, and all that. I mean, this is amazing. And so, I mean, again, once we show you some other properties that Ryan have on this particular slideshow, you will see some amazing cash flow, amazing numbers. And I mean, like you said, it's perfect storm, and I'm excited. And the members that are looking into this presentation, you all should be excited, because you're not going to see that any other time in history in real estate, or definitely not the stock market. So make your IRA work hard for you. And I've been teaching a lot of my people about self-directed IRA, and more than 50% of my investors actually in the past 4 years through my education are using their self-directed IRA to purchase great properties. Okay, so with that in mind, go ahead, Ryan, proceed. I had to get that in.
Sure. I was thinking back of this particular property or this area, Seawing, just to give, if you're a new investor, when Seawing and I first started working together, well, let's say a couple of years even before that, if you went back to 2007, just before we met, these same properties, the rents were very similar, the $650 to $700 rent, but you were paying somewhere between, we were doing these for about $60,000 to $65,000. So think about the rent multiplier, like you were talking about, the complete difference of buying now versus buying when these were at the top of their market and the $65,000 range. So just very, very significant. And that's what we really try to work with investors, especially if they're new to it and they're worried about what's going on with the economy. Don't worry about it. take advantage of it because of these rent multipliers and seeing much better returns on your money.
Yeah.
So let's go on and look at the next one, the one on Kerwin Drive. Now, the one on Kerwin Drive, this is an interesting scenario because we do have a lot of cash buyers, C-Wing, that will go up to about a $60,000 purchase price. But you and I talked about a year ago, and you told me, you said, Ryan, I have a need for investors to purchase properties in that lower price point, but they don't have $60,000 to put down on a property. Do you have any lenders that go down to a low loan limit, lower than $50,000 or down to $60,000? And we do. We had to go out and find, it takes a lot of hunting to find someone, first of all, that does a good job with loaning to investors. Very, very different than your typical owner-occupant scenario. As you well know, as the economy turned, it became very strict for owner-occupants to get financing. It was even more difficult for investors to get financing, and they did many different types of restructuring within those programs. But we have a tremendous lender here in the Memphis market that is able to go down to a $40,000 loan limit, and they're set up for working specifically with investors. So once they get you approved, we don't have issues with getting it closed, which through the years, as all of these changes happened, we did with other lenders. So we have a local lender that can go down to that $40,000 loan limit. So let's take a look at this property. Very, very similar rehab was done to this property as the last one that we looked at. And you can see it's a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, but it's in a little bit more, a little pricier neighborhood. $55,000 is the price on it. It did have a new roof on it, repainted the outside, repainted the inside, had to have a new air conditioner installed, new flooring. This one also went through that upgrade on the electrical panel. It had the screw-in fuses, so we upgraded the electrical panel. And it shows a 17% ROI. Well, what's the difference? You say, wow, I want this one instead of the other one. The 17% comes when we attach financing to it. You don't have as much money out of pocket. Now, if you looked at that, you have to put 20% down, so this drops those loan values down in the 40s, and a lot of lenders don't like doing that. But like we talked about earlier, we do have a lender that will go down to $40,000 loan limit. And with this particular house, it's already gone through the renovations. It's already ready for your tenant, and we can do 20% down financing. So in the lower boxes, it shows you your principal and interest payment, $232, the property taxes per month, your insurance for the property, and then it's got a property management fee. That maintenance and vacancy factor that we talked about is so important. Even though those aren't charged to you monthly, we still want to make allowances for it. And so you still get, remember, we've got $90 budgeted in for that maintenance and vacancy, so you're still going to get well over $200 cash flow per month on this property, and you get a tremendous return. Can you imagine getting a 17% return in your 401k or in your stock investments right now? It's just unheard of. And I put a line down here. I know you noticed this, C-Wing. It says, can have a tenant placed by close of escrow. And you know how important that is for your network members. One of the things that we do is we have relationships with these sellers. We don't exclusively list their homes, but they've worked with us enough in the past that if we told them that we have an investor that's interested in the home, that they will allow our property management company to begin marketing the property, and they pay all of those management fees. So what type of management fees would that be? That takes away the investor's advertising cost to get the property rented. It takes away the leasing fee, and it takes away any of your holding costs, like your light, gas, and water bill. And so I think Last time I calculated that up, that can easily be $1,200, $1,300 savings, and you immediately start receiving that cash flow the day that you close. So that's another thing that we've added to this, and the sellers have allowed us to do because of the relationship we have with them. They'll allow us to go ahead and get a tenant placed in there once we get it under escrow.
You know, Ryan, I tell you, I had to say this. I had to say this. This is, you know, you guys provide such a, you know, such a high value service. This nowhere else in the country, and I represent other markets, and my investors, especially savvy investors, there's nowhere else in the country you can go buy a property this low in price, you know, 50 to 60,000, and still get financing. Most lenders throughout the country, especially for investment financing, they're not going to finance any homes that are less than 80 grand. So for Ryan to and his team to find a unique lender that can finance the cost of a home in this particular case only 54,900 at 20% down, and the total and the closing cost and the total out of pocket is only 13,725. I mean, that is totally amazing. Nowhere, I tell you, nowhere you can do this, and yet he's able to pull through. You know, Ryan and his team is just a, plus you guys have in-house. You know where to go, what neighborhood to buy properties. These neighborhoods are not ghetto. They are not lower class. They are middle class, hardworking people that like to rent. They are historically they've been good renters. You know, and it's amazing for a turnkey system that Ryan and his team produce. You know, Ryan and his team find the good neighborhood, find the good properties, rehab it on their own. All the upfront work he's doing for California investors, and this is real, you know, out of stick turnkey, remote control. You know, and the cash flow is so tremendous. It's just what a valuable product, a service you guys providing. I mean, unique than the other market that I have representation. So it's amazing. The numbers looks great, and you guys have done a fabulous job over the years helping California investors, Ryan. But go ahead.
All right. The last one that I wanted to present, C-Wing, and this is something that we have had calls for years, and I don't have many of them. You and I talked about this, but I wanted to present them. One thing that we've had a lot of investors ask us for over the last 10 years is duplexes. And I am very, very particular about the duplexes that we sell and that we manage. Now, let me just start with just a little bit of a story about duplexes. The Memphis market has a lot of duplexes. But I would say 95% of the time when they come available, I don't even go and explore them. And you and I talked when we started this relationship. You said, listen, most of my investors, very well educated on the financial part of investing, but I'm counting on you, they're counting on you to keep them away from rough properties, rough areas. And so a lot of the properties, a lot of the duplexes that we have found through the years are not properties that I would invest in, not properties that I would own. And so we use that gauge as whether or not we're going to sell a property. If it's not a property that we would purchase, if it's not a property that we would be proud of personally, then we don't market it to investors. So we had to be we had to go through a lot of information, a lot of due diligence to come up with good ways to provide duplexes, because we do get a lot of requests for multifamily homes. And so on this slide, you'll see that we do have a duplex that's offered. We've got duplexes in the $75,000 to $100,000 price range. And they're not in the Memphis market, and we can talk a little bit about these after on an individual basis, C-Wing, with your investors, in the Jackson, Tennessee area. Jackson is, from my office, it takes me about 50 minutes to get there, and is another vibrant town. It's just not quite as large as Memphis, but we've been managing homes there for 10 years. Ever since we came into existence, we had another branch of our office that was closer to Jackson, and we have great properties that we manage there. Very, very stable, very easy to find tenants for. Matter of fact, of all the doors that we manage there, duplexes and single-family homes, right now we only have one vacancy. And so when we went out looking for opportunities to sell duplexes, I chose to bring those on because they have great returns on the investment. They're low cost, and they're in really good areas. So if you guys were to come to town, I do have a few investors that come to town on occasion, maybe one or two a year, and they said, hey, take me to Jackson and let's explore that area. Right down the street from this particular duplex is Union University, a brand new Sam's Wholesale Club, a brand new Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart. It's just right in the center of all of this new growth, and but the numbers on it are just tremendous. $75,000 for this fully leased duplex. It's both sides are currently leased out. They're leased out for $525 on each side, and you can get financing for duplexes as well. But it's a little bit different. Instead of it being 20% down, you have to do 25% down. So you'll see that adjustment in the performance that we put together. But very good interest rates on it as well. And if you look, again, I have my maintenance and vacancy factored in there. Over $120 factored in for maintenance and vacancy per month. And it still almost produces, it's going to produce almost $500 a month, right at $500 a month positive cash flow, and has over 20% ROI. And I know that I look at a lot of different markets and see what are other areas selling. This is one of the best opportunities for owning a duplex in a good area where you've got great, stable tenants. And for a tenant to even rent this unit, they're only paying $525 per side. So I've got plenty of potential tenants, if these ever come vacant, that are able to rent it at that amount and be in a really good area of town. So this is very, very limited. I've had about 5 of these over the last 6 months, and every time that we sell 1 or 2 off, then I start scouring the area to try to find ones that are acceptable, that you and I would approve the area of, that have a great return on that. So I know that you have seen these in the past, C-Wing, and very, very excited about them as well.
Oh yeah, several of my buyers are looking forward to buying your duplexes because they've been waiting for you to come out with some additional inventories in the past few weeks. Coincidentally, believe it or not, I've been to Jackson, Tennessee.
Really?
And actually, I was like I said, I was in active duty U.S. Army back in 1982. Yes, a long time ago. I was stationed in Fort. Now you kind of figure how old I am, but never mind about that. I was stationed there in U.S. Army Fort Campbell in actually Clarksville, Tennessee, which is a mere 2 hours away. So one day in the weekend, when I was in active duty, I was fit. Well, I'm still kind of fit, but I used to run in the weekends 10K races, the 10K road races, like 6.2 miles. And I actually went to Jackson, Tennessee and ran my 10K races, and I have a vivid memory. It's a nice little town, and it's a good neighborhood, and yeah, so interesting.
Well, you would, if you were there in 1982, if you came back, you would think you're in the wrong town. It has just exploded in the last 10 years, and a lot of that has to do with it being the central location for about 10 counties. And so what you have is you have a population of people that depend on that center of commerce for their work, for all of their shopping, for their medical needs. It is very, very similar to the Memphis, just on a smaller scale. And we've had investors that have us for right at 10 years that own their have owned their rental properties in Jackson, and there's some of them who have never transitioned tenants. I've got one of these duplexes that I'm going to send over to you that has had the same tenant in place for 15 years. And so we have found it to be an extremely stable market. We have found that rents have been stable and even increased. These rent rates are going up as the units come vacant, and it is very, very rare for me to have two vacancies in the Jackson area. Now, I don't manage as many doors in Jackson as I do in Memphis, but I always think that that's just phenomenal when I check my numbers on the Jackson market, and I just don't have vacancies. I mean, how much better a scenario could you get if you're an investor to always have your unit rented? So, and it's close enough that I've got an investor that is looking at one of these duplexes, and I'm driving up tomorrow morning, and I'll take some pictures of them. I'll check on a renovation job that's going on, and be back in the office just like if I was driving around to my downtown Memphis area. So just a great location as well.
Yeah.
Well, Sealing, that gives a good sample of the free programs, and you know that we're always looking for other different types of programs out there. When things change, you and I have to adapt. If lending changes, if price point changes, whatever is going on in the economy, being a provider of investment properties, educating people in investment properties, we're always looking for new and innovative ways to help people invest their hard-earned money. And so that's three programs that we currently have going. And I wanted to finish out with one last slide. Most people are very familiar with Warren Buffett, and they listen to what he says about investing, and he's been a very good mouthpiece. And a few months ago, he really talked about it would be a great time to be investing in real estate. But one of the things that came out of that book that I mentioned earlier, Crash Boom, is so significant to buying in today's market. One of Warren Buffett's sayings is, be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. And that just completely summarizes what we're providing right now, is that opportunity to buy when the prices are low. There are people that are sitting on the sideline, and they're saying, wow, I don't know if I want to invest because the economic factors have driven these prices down to this level. And that's when Warren Buffett says, if you're a real investor, if you really want to make your money work hard, while people are worried about that, move forward. Be greedy. Take advantage of the situation at hand, and then once prices get back to that skyrocketing level, that's when you back off. Don't buy gold when it's at its highest. Buy gold when it's at its lowest. Same thing applies with real estate. Take advantage of these extremely low prices coupled with just phenomenally low interest rates with these loans, and get into the investing now, or continue on with your purchases before we see these prices move way back up into these higher price range. Sealing, that is the conclusion of what I wanted to bring to everyone. I've got it on the last slide where it talks about getting started. And I've got all of your contact information on here. I know that the way that you run your program, you like to be completely involved in helping people make decisions. Obviously, I'm here on the other end, and I'm here to help them as well. But I've got your contact information and my contact information on there. So if you'd like to close this up, and I don't know if we have any time for questions, but I'll let you close out the rest of the presentation.
Right. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, we definitely have no time for Q&A at this moment. But on your slide, you will see my name, of course. You know my phone number. You know my email address. You can contact me anytime. Many of you are my fee-based coaching clients. Some of you are not. I'm willing to help every one of you who are serious, committed, and to increase your financial situation. And of course, you can also we work as a team. You know, my Ryan Tucker and his group work as a team with me. And once I once I'm able to talk with you, understand your goals and objectives, have a game plan going, then if a Memphis product is a good portfolio for you, which I feel strongly, as you can tell by now, how excited I am working with his team. And then once I've done all the initial communication with you, I will send you over to Ryan and his team. Ryan's phone number, as you can see on the slideshow, area code 901-921-9065, and his email is rtucker@enterpriserealtors.com. And we're just here to help you to make a difference in your financial life for yourself and your family, and work the 10-year plan to achieve financial independence. Right now is the greatest time to do it, but you got to pull the trigger. You can't be sitting in the sideline. So, well, anyway, thank you. We have more than reached the 1 hour, so really appreciate all of you. Still, most of you are still here to listen to this toward the end of this presentation. Other than that, thank you, Ryan, for taking out of your time, out of your day, to present this workshop, this webinar. And I know you're a little bit under the weather, so you made it. You made it through. So, oh, so
Well, thank you so much.
yeah.
And as I've told you before, Seawing, I really appreciate what you do with your investors. They come over as some of the best educated investors that we've worked with through the years, and you do a tremendous job with your program.
Thank you, thank you. I have a few more buyers coming up very, very shortly. They are very much interested in a duplex, as you can tell. So don't sell any of the duplex for other people. Give it to my members, okay? They'll be coming over very, very soon, okay? So
All right.
yeah, so
That's good. Thank you, Seawing.
all right. Thank you so much, Ryan, and everyone. Thank you so much, and good day, and looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you so much, and starting out. Thank you. Bye.